as your senator, building a modern transportation system will be one of my priorities because investing in transportation is investing in our people. For many working families, transportation isn't just about getting from one place to another. It's about opportunity. It's about keeping a job, getting an education, and building a better future. A strong economy depends on a strong middle class, and a strong middle class depends on having the tools people need to succeed. That's why transportation matters. When workers can get to work reliably, business can grow. When businesses grow, jobs are created. And when jobs are created, families thrive. Imagine a Guam where opportunity is within reach for everyone. I'm Donna Munikanata, and I approve this message.
Well, hello to all of you, and welcome to this new week. It is 8:50 p.m. on Sunday, July 12, 2026. My name is Troy Torres, and this is the Troy Torres Show. This is the evening show on Kandit. It's supposed to start at 7:30, but I figure those of you who remember that we had a super typhoon event last week, and all the preparation that went into that, and then, of course, the issues with power and data that have persisted since, will cut me a break and understand that until my power gets back on and until life is back to normal for me, I won't be able to have these shows on schedule, meaning the schedule from the morning show happening at 8 a.m. is just going to be a little bit later these days until I get my power back. And if you're wondering how am I able to do this show with no power, I want to give a special shout out to the men and women over at Home Depot. So preparing for this ever since Bobby, like when Bobby was Invest 95W. I have to imagine many of you are like me. You get not I have to imagine there are people like me. Like, I'm a naturally uptight person. I naturally run into issues of anxiety. Routine is very important to me. Stepping out of that routine can trigger mental health issues. Not anything really bad, but just I'm what do you call those personality type? I'm one of those personality type, like, where that the bad things that happen in my life are 100% my fault. That kind of personality, right? So anyway, I'm stressed. I'm stress eating. I'm gaining weight. We still don't have power in our area. With no power, there are data issues, and so all of this stuff is flipping me out. So I'm just taking this one step at a time, right? And one of the steps that I took today was to take a generator that wasn't working after Super Typhoon Sinlaku. Never tested it until Bobby because I didn't need it by the time we got it after Sinlaku, right? So with Bobby, it was one of those things where there's a sensitive sensor, and I looked it up, and it has this carbon monoxide sensor thing is really a sensitive thing, right? So the men and women over at Home Depot, they allowed me to turn this thing in. It was manufacturer defective, so they were able to bring it in, right, and gave me store credit, and I got this other generator, and it's a 12 something watt. It's a big generator, and I've never really had a generator in my life, and now I have one of these bigger type generators, and that's what's powering the computer, the fan, the light, the microphone, and all that stuff, right? There's a little aircon that's being powered in the other room. But if you're looking at me and you're like, why does Troy look more Patgun Madzuti than even before? It's because it's hot. And I want to thank the men and women of Guam Power Authority for getting the power to 87% of the rest of this island. I am proudly and at 13% waiting for Guam Power Authority to come back to our area. I do want to share because there are a bunch of people who are looking at the daily power thing that GPA puts out. Let me go to it. And they're seeing that their feeder is on for, or has been on for GPA to repair. And some people are even saying hey, my neighbor has power, how come I don't power? So GPA has explained this, and this is kind of a sucky situation for if you don't have power right now and your neighborhood has power. It's kind of a sucky situation for you and for me, because I think we fall into this category, right? So GPA is in phase 2 right now of restoration work. And phase 2, when you see that list of all the P231, P046, all that stuff, right? And you're like, hey, I'm in that P, I'm in that feeder. It means that they're repairing the light stuff that needs repairing in your area. And if you see that in your area, people who are in your distribution feeder have power, but you don't, that's a sign that you might not have power for a little bit, because that's for phase 3. So GPA is almost done with phase 2, but phase 3, so phase 2, this is what phase 2 is, okay? So this is why it's important to read the fine print on these things. GPA crews are addressing all sectors, north, central, and south, to restore as many customers with minimal damage as possible per feeder. During this stage of recovery, some energized feeders may still leave pockets of isolated customers with extensive damages. That's where phase 3 comes in. They haven't reached this phase yet. So in phase 3, crews will return to complete repairs on isolated areas with extensive damages, on overhead issues like defective transformers, debris on power lines such as bamboo trees, and other hardware component replacements after all feeder distribution lines with minimal damages are restored. So the key word there is after. Now, the good news is that they're almost at the after. They're almost at the full restoration for feeders, because out of 67 distribution feeders, 62 as of 10 a.m. this morning already were at the very least partially energized. So 5 more feeders. Maybe they finished the 5 feeders today. I don't know. Maybe they're already on phase 3. But for you and I who don't have power still, and you can see that people in your neighborhood have power, we're likely in the phase 3 side of things, and it's just going to take a little bit. So I want to thank the men and women over at Home Depot for helping me to at least have the ability to do this live stream from home, and also thankfully, because of this small aircon, one of those rolling aircons that you can just jimmy up in the window, my first comfortable night's rest. And my power went off on July 5. It was like I had my birthday. I was able to have a great night's rest from my birthday to the next day, and then working because of the whole typhoon thing, the approaching typhoon. And then the evening of July 5, my power went off, and it went on for like an hour yesterday, but it was dirty power, and it hasn't come back since. So waiting patiently, and thank you GPA, thank you Home Depot. Anyway, that was a whole intro. What I want to talk about tonight has to do with the legislature. So the legislature, I know most of us have just been doing our getting back into the normal life thing. People who don't have power or who don't have water are not living a normal life right now. But for any of you who have been paying attention, and I've been trying to pay attention, significant things have been happening over at the legislature. And a lot of this has to do with the whole debate on whether to reduce the BPT back to its normal level of 4%. So if you remember a long time ago, back in 2018, can you imagine? 2018 was a long time ago. In 2018, then Governor Eddie Calvo, with the support of the majority of senators, bumped the BPT from 4% to 5% on a temporary basis. There was a sunset provision on this thing. And they did it in order to be able to afford the cost of running the government at that time, because revenues eroded significantly from the Trump tax cuts of that time. Fast forward a couple years, Governor Lulian Guerrero was in office. That provision was sunsetting. She convinced the legislature to remove the sunset provision and allow the BPT to continue at the 5%. It became a big issue in the 2024 election. The people elected the Republicans, and the Republicans largely ran on this issue of, we're going to roll back the BPT from 5% to 4%. They managed to roll it back from 5% to 4.5%, 50% to the goal, in last year's budget discussions, and which applied to this year's budget. Now they're going through budget discussions again, and in order to keep their promise, the Republicans are moving forward with their plan to reduce the BPT to 4% by the beginning of fiscal year 2027, which begins on October 1, 2026. The Republicans are running into resistance. And I actually didn't care about any of this stuff until I had heard, like I wasn't watching session myself, but I had heard that a senator made an amendment to the budget to keep the BPT at 4.5% and use the proceeds that would have been saved from it to provide the 40,000 households of this island a $1,000 cash payment, a disaster recovery grant, cash in hand. Individual assistance is what it basically is, $1,000. And I thought, heck, I can use $1,000. That's quite a bit of money. Putting $1,000 into the hands of each and every household on this island would more than likely keep that money circulating into this economy much more than that 0.5% tax break that the Republicans want to give, because that tax break only affects the largest corporations on this island. And the majority of the large corporations on this island, which are at a certain threshold, are not even from this island. They're carpet-bagging corporations making money off of the military buildup. And so all of a sudden, I'm invested in this discussion. I'm like, okay, I didn't care about this before. Wasn't really like anything that excited me as a discussion about this island. But boy, do I care about it now, because $1,000, that really is something. So on the other side of the commercial break, I want to bring to you that discussion because, my friends, it didn't pass. The legislature chose carpetbagging large corporations over the 40,000 households of this island. And I want you to see this for yourselves. We'll play this when we come back from the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us.
He has that innate talent of even the most difficult times, giving comfort, giving solace, bringing stability. In my 64 years, there are people I've known that have passed away, and there's been Tony that has been there to comfort the family and the loved ones, sometimes the most difficult times of their lives. He could better this community as a public servant, but bring people together, even people with divergent thoughts and philosophies, but in the end, bringing enough comfort, enough stability to a situation that there's a consensus and then resolution and progress that is made. So, I'm so excited. I've seen what a great job Tony's done now back in the legislature, but I do believe that with him as governor, that ability to bring people together, to bring folks even with different perspectives together, it's what this island needs. God bless Atacaubo 2026. God bless Guam.
I'm Tony Atta, and I approve this message.
Transportation, tourism, customs, utilities, and federal and foreign affairs touch every family, every business, every day. Jesse Michael Anderson Lujan believes Guam can be greater together by fighting for cabotage exemption, expanding the Philippine visa waiver program, and opening new doors for tourism investment and opportunity. Vote Jesse Lujan. Leadership you can see. Accountability you can trust.
I'm Jesse Michael Anderson Lujan, and I approve this message.
Chris Barnett Parkinson Amendment, SB 266 CB WAPL1-26P 2-9. Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
So just want to see Mr. Chair for the opportunity to speak on my amendment, and I'd like to thank Senator Parkinson for co-sponsoring it. What the amendment does is it maintains the business privilege tax rate of 4.5%, and it redirects the $40 million to direct assistance in the form of grants to Guam households. Sir, so the amendment, the first few pages are just maintaining the 4.5%, and then in Section 3, the meat of the amendment, it's the storm assistance for you, the SUFU program, which appropriates this BPT revenue to the general fund for the Department of Administration for fiscal year 2027 to fund the SUFU grant program. The appropriation is funded via the retention of the 0.5 business privilege tax revenue. Mr. Chair, as you all know, our people have suffered greatly with not just the passage of Super Typhoon Bavi, but even the passage of Super Typhoon Sinlaku. If you look at your social media, anytime over the last few days, you'll see that a lot of our people are having to dump their food because they haven't had power. In Talafofo, we've been without power for about a week, and I did the same thing this morning because you know how it is when you, after the storm, when you don't have power, you try and find, friends and family who do, and you ask them to hold your food for you. But even when you do all those things and you try and manage without the utilities, at the end of the day, it's tragic that our people have to do this. And many of them have to do it because they simply don't have the means to recover or even prepare for storm events, Mr. Chair. And that's why I humbly ask for the support of my colleagues. This is not stopping the business privilege tax rollback, Mr. Chair, and my dear people of Guam. The business privilege tax has already been rolled back by 0.5% to the tune of $40 million. And I'm asking my colleagues now, because I agree, I don't think we should pit the businesses against the people of Guam. And since we've already given the businesses the help that they needed in the form of that 0.5% business privilege tax rollback, I think it's safe to say that if we look at who needs assistance more at this time, it would definitely be our working families, our households, Mr. Chair. And that's a compromise. I argued vehemently against the 1% rollback of the business privilege tax. And I think we should maintain it at 4.5% and assist our people with $1,000 grants per household. The grants, according to the SAFU program, are non-taxable and must be spent exclusively on physical residential hardening and storm preparation or recovery, such as but not limited to repairs to storm damage, typhoon shutters, plywood and/or reinforced doors, or emergency off-grid power systems, again, like generators, portable batteries, residential solar units, or food or storm supply replacement or replenishment. Financial assistance paid under the SAFU grant program shall be in addition to any financial assistance awarded under FEMA. And we've seen, Mr. Chair, we're not getting FEMA the way we used to. We're not getting even Red Cross assistance the way we used to. That's why I think at this time it's important that we stand together and provide direct assistance to our families. You know, when we rolled back the business privilege tax by 0.5%, I want to celebrate those small businesses that gave their employees increased wages. But for the most part, we didn't see lower prices at the stores, at the restaurants, or anywhere really. We didn't see a meaningful increase in wages. But we will see this money go back into our economy, Mr. Chair, and we will see our people receive this assistance. And so I ask the support of my colleagues, and I would like to amend my amendment, Mr. Chair. I noticed that, unfortunately, maybe the candlelight was not bright enough, but in the opening line, Section 2, Business Privilege Tax, I'd like to amend that to read, beginning on October 1st, 2026, the business privilege tax rate shall, and then I want to strike B and insert the words remain at 4.5%, period, and then strike through the rest of the sentence, Mr. Chair.
Does everyone understand the amendment to the amendment? The Barnett amendment to the amendment? Can you repeat your amendment to the
thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically, if you look at the amendment, I went through and I struck out the reduction to 4%, but I failed to do that in the opening sentence, which reads that the business privilege tax rate shall be 4%. And so I'm just amending that first sentence to reflect the rest of the body of the amendment. And the amendment would read, the business privilege tax rate shall remain at 4.5%, period, and then everything else would just be struck out.
Does everybody understand the amendment to the amendment? Certainly can. I'm just making sure everybody understands it first. Okay, everybody knows what we're doing. On the amendment to the amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Parkinson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the amendment to the amendment. I really think that, this BPT reduction that's happening, it's not happening for all businesses, because a majority of the businesses on the island already pay a lesser rate. I believe 91% of the businesses do. It's only the top 9% of businesses that are going to be experiencing a windfall from the reduction in the BPT. And so I just wanted to talk about how these top businesses are doing a little bit, as we consider the amendment to the amendment to keep it at 4.5%. One of the things that they did was they had a survey in the Guam Business Magazine. And then they had a survey that asked a bunch of questions. One of them, compared to 1 year ago, my company's bottom line is much better, somewhat better, about the same, somewhat worse, or much worse. In it, about 63% said that compared to 1 year ago, their company's bottom line is better or much better. Only about 36% of them said that it was about the same. None of these top businesses said that their bottom line was somewhat worse or worse. When asked 1 year from now what they expect their company's bottom line to be, about 63% of them said they expected it to be better, with only 27% saying that they think it would be the same. Less than 10% of these top businesses thought that they would be in a somewhat worse position. In the past 12 months, none of these major businesses have had a decrease in their staffing pattern, according to their own survey, with 72% of them increasing the number of workers that they're hiring. With many of them, 54% saying that they expected their staffing to increase in the coming years. 45% of them said their staffing would stay the same. 0% of them said their staffing would decrease. When asked if the economic expectations for their organizations were fulfilled, 81% of the top businesses said yes. When asked if they believe the economy will provide specific opportunities for their business in the coming year, 72% said yes. And here's what I thought was really interesting. When asked how close are you to your pre-pandemic position with all factors considered, a whopping 54% of the respondents said that they exceeded their pre-pandemic position. Exceeded. 18% reached their pre-pandemic position, with the minority of them being a year or two away from achieving pre-pandemic prosperity. But that's just such a stark number. A majority of the top businesses have exceeded their pre-pandemic positions by their own survey in the Marianas Business Journal. So these businesses are doing very, very well. And it wasn't so long ago that we did used to tax them 5%. They have been on a 4.5% rollback for less than a year. So it's just absurd, this notion that we can't consider a higher tax rate for these incredibly well-off businesses. So I support the amendment to the amendment. I urge my colleagues to keep the BPT at 4.5%. If I can convince you otherwise, I would advocate for more. But if we can find in the spirit of compromise to at least just keep it at the 4.5%, let's not be chopping off limbs of our future because we made promises to people in the business community. No one's trying to demonize the business community, but we need these revenues. We need these revenues, and these businesses are doing very, very well. And we just want everybody to pay their fair share, because there are problems on this island that are numerous and without end. Nobody here is campaigning on maintaining the status quo. Many of the people running in this body for higher office are doing it with change. And none of us are going to achieve that with less resources, with less revenue, with less tools to solve the many, many problems we have today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the amendment to the amendment, on the amendment to the Barnett Amendment, are there anyone that wishes to speak? You may close, Senator Barnett. Senator Chalahi, you're recognized.
I just want to say what I really appreciate about this amendment is that it's targeted to give $1,000 grants to everyday people. I think this is very important, and the rationale is because of Typhoon Bobby. And the cost, if we take what OFB have been saying generally, is that the cost of the rollback of BPT is $40 million. The cost of $40 million is less than what we have put out for Typhoon Sinlaku or Typhoon Mawar, Typhoon Sinlaku, and we did hear yesterday from BBMR, again, he threw in something about that they need more money for Typhoon Bobby. In fact, he made a whole list of things that he needed, and including, and which was a surprise to us, they need money for childcare. The child cares are going to close because they are not getting paid. Talk about taking care of employees, they are not getting paid. People are not able to take their children to these places because they're being told there is no money for them. The businesses. He said we need money. GMH needed $20 million last year. And we put some provision in last year's budget that they would get it in the future. They haven't got it yet. And now they're telling us yesterday that they might not get that till 2027, like November. That's not how we take care of GMH. That public safety was cut, according to BBMR. That DYA, that the residential treatment. And some people are proposing that that is just excessive. I think, if I heard it correctly, they were saying that the costs just keep growing and we can't do that. Well, these are residential treatment. These are folks who need help. Complex help in order to live. Or do we just want to let them sit on the side and die? The DISID needs help. Behavioral health, public health, even to match Medicaid, which has saved Guam. And I want to commend everyone who did the work to get us up to this cap, to use the cap, to use the amount of federal dollars that are available to us for Medicaid, to enroll people into Medicaid, to give them some coverage so that we lessen the amount of people who are going to GMH and not paying at all. And we increase the amount of people we can bill Medicaid for. Those are successes, but this budget purports to remove our ability, Guam's ability, to receive the maximum federal funds for Medicaid, for health care coverage. I can't imagine, how is that a good policy for anyone? We're trying to give doctors tax breaks if they take Medicaid to entice them, and then we're going to cut back the money for Medicaid? We're trying to take care of GMH for the non-paying people they see, and then we're going to cut back the money for Medicaid? We're actually trying to remove our cap. And that would be the next best thing that we do. But to underfund Medicaid, leave people without coverage, cut them off, and then cut MIP at the same time, so you're not going to cover them under Medicaid and you're not going to fund MIP. So poor people, they'll just die. And I think $1,000 is it's little to ask for what the people have faced and what they will continue to face based on predictions. The governor and the scientists, they agree that we are in a El Nino pattern that is going to bring storm after storm, and we have suffered through 3. And I think that any relief that we can bring to the people of Guam, we should bring to them. When it comes time to bringing relief to the businesses, we have done that. When it comes time to bringing relief to the businesses in Tumon, we have done that. When it comes time to bringing outright grants to businesses, we have done that with millions of dollars.
That's your time.
And so this is,
Thank you, Senator.
This is a very small amount for the people of Guam.
Thank you,
I
Senator.
support.
Senator Barnett, you may close.
Just wants the Mr. Chair for the opportunity to close. So it's really just a technical amendment that corrects an unfortunate oversight on my part, and it maintains the business privilege tax at 4.5%, which I think is very reasonable, Mr. Chair. Because of the military buildup, there's a lot of inflation in our economy, and I don't think that we really have an accurate read on the impact of the business privilege tax rollback of 0.5%. And when we talk about the problems that we face and the status quo budgets, to be able in this fiscal year to redirect these revenues straight into the pockets and purses of our working families is a worthy investment. As Senator Parkinson had said, in this hall we hear a lot of narrative about the businesses are closing. Mr. Chair, Guam is a tough business environment because our people don't have the ability to be like this with their money. So we have to be like my grandma. My grandma was like this with her money, very tight. So businesses have to be creative in how they attract their consumers. Some businesses close because of global trends, like duty-free shoppers. They're closing all over the world. Because even travelers around the world don't have the money to spend like they used to. So maintaining the business privilege tax at 4.5%, I think is prudent and reasonable. We're not stopping the rollback. We've already rolled it back for the biggest of the big businesses, and they received a $40 million windfall. And I don't believe that we really know where we're going to be. But what I do know is at this time, our people need help more than the businesses that already got it. Maintaining the business privilege tax at 4.5% in this fiscal year could lead to individual assistance for our households and our families. Next year, that revenue could be used for universal college, free training programs for our young adults. A lot of the problems we're facing require long-term solutions. But, Mr. Chair, long-term solutions require investment, require funding. And my colleague is right. If we want to exceed the status quo, if we want to dream big, then we need the resources to do it. And again, the 0.5% rollback, despite what some of my colleagues say, for the most part, and this came from the businesses themselves in the public hearing on the business privilege tax rollback. They said it's not going to lead to lower prices for our hardworking families. They said it wasn't going to lead to higher wages. So why should we roll it back another 0.5% if it's not truly going to benefit our working families? Instead, we should take these funds and put them directly in the pockets of our households in the form of $1,000 grants. Now, applicants must certify their household, one, experience a negative economic impact from Super Typhoon Sinlaku or Super Typhoon Bavi. Mr. Chair, many people who are on federal benefits like SNAP received reload after reload, supplemental additions to their SNAP benefits. But so many more of our people received nothing. Nothing. Some of our people can't afford to buy 3 days worth of food when the storm comes. And every time Landon Idlet says, Mawaris Child's Play or It's a Beast, you know what our people do? They run out and spend money they don't have just to be prepared. So ask your support of this amendment, which again is not the main amendment. It's just to maintain the BPT at 4.5%, Mr. Chair. Sidus Masi.
On the amendment to the Barnett Amendment, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, we are back to the main amendment. Main amendment. Anybody wish to speak on the main amendment? Not Senator Barnett, you can close.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to close.
Mr. Chair, I'll speak on the main amendment.
Senator Parkinson, folks, I'm going to say this once. I'll give the courtesy. When I say anyone, and there's no one, and I recognize the individual close, that's going to close it. I will give you the courtesy at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to rise in support of this overall amendment because, you know, we did go through some things here in the last few years, you know, between Mawar, Sinlaku, and now Bavi. There has just been a string of events that has constantly tested our people. And so, you know, maybe in the spirit of compromise, instead of giving a permanent tax cut to these biggest of the big businesses, let us preserve this 4.5% and use the windfall from that to take care of our people, to start this program, this SAFU grant program, the storm assistance for our people. Because if maybe not everybody needs it today, but if we have more storms, we could potentially need it in the future. And I know plenty of people who definitely need it today. And so I think this would be a well-served use of our public funds. And, you know, for my colleagues who are concerned about growing the government, this is expressly trying to not do that. We're trying to put as much of this money back directly into our people's pockets. And this serves the businesses too. This serves the businesses that you are trying to serve by giving the community the resources to go out there and spend within the community. When you give a working class family resources to prepare for storms, they're going out there and they're spending that in our local businesses. So instead of giving this money directly to just the local businesses, Give it to the consumers, give it to the people, because they're going to go out and spend that money, and it's going to trickle up to the businesses anyway. And so I wholly support this amendment, and I ask my colleagues to support it as well, because storm preparation is something that we need to give some thought and consideration and real resources to. It's not enough to talk about it or, you know, make it part of our slogans, but here we are in our budget season. We have an actual opportunity to put real money behind these concepts that we talk about, and we should. And we should. This is exactly the time to be talking about it. We are going through all these massive changes, and when the world is changing, you should change with the circumstances. I know many of you made promises to the Chamber of Commerce that you were going to reduce these BPTs. But you got to look at what's going on in our world, the things that are going on, to our gas prices, to the stability in the region. I think it would be prudent for us to pause on this notion of reducing these BPTs, cutting off long-term revenues. When we did it for 0.5%, that set us back $40 million in 1 year. If we were to do another 0.5%, that would be $80 million in 1 year, meaning over the course of the 2 years, the people of Guam would have lost out in $120 million in government revenues that could be doing things to improve the community. You let that full percent go on another year, we're looking at a tag of $200 million in totality that we are shortchanging ourselves. By the end of the 39th legislature, if that 4% were to stick, we'd be down $280 million, $250 million, before the legislature itself turns 40. So we really need to think about what are we doing here? Because in the past, we have used the revenue from that BPT, and we have used it for temporary measures like putting money into the hospital or power credits or some sort of use for that money. But to give it away as a permanent tax cut to the biggest of the big businesses does not serve the people of Guam. Use it for something else if you have to. I can understand that. But to give a permanent tax cut, we are just, we are hamstring ourselves into the future. So please support this amendment, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Burnett, you can close on your amendment.
Mr. Chair, thank you for my colleagues who rose in support of the amendment. And just quickly, what it does is it keeps the BPT at 4.5%. and takes the revenue that would have gone towards a further BPT reduction and uses that revenue to establish the Storm Assistance for You grant program. This grant program provides $1,000 grants to eligible households. Now, applicants to this program must certify their household, one, experienced a negative economic impact from Super Typhoon Sinlaku or Super Typhoon Bavi, or that their household requires funding assistance to improve preparations for future storms. And of course, they must certify their U.S. citizens and residents of Guam. Again, allowable purchases with this $1,000 grant per household are for physical residential hardening and storm preparation or recovery, typhoon shutters, plywood, reinforced doors or windows, generators. A lot of our people can't afford a one-time investment that it takes hundreds of dollars up to $1,000 for a generator. Like I said, a lot of our people can't afford to buy 3 days worth of food. And then when they do that, because we go days without power, they end up having to throw that food away. You made a promise to the Chamber of Commerce, you made a promise to the businesses that you would roll back the business privilege tax. You have fulfilled that promise. You have rolled it back by 0.5%. Now I'm humbly asking you to take the revenues that would go again to the businesses who get a second dip at the trough, and take those monies and put them directly into the pockets of our working families. One of my colleagues likes to say that the business privilege tax put money in the pockets of our families, but it didn't. It didn't, because that money stayed in the pockets of the big bosses. We didn't see the trickle down. And when you feel that trickle down, let me know, because we have not seen it when we go around and talk to people. They're struggling. And if we can support the businesses with $40 million, I don't understand why we wouldn't support our families and our households with the same amount of investment. Investment that's going to go into our economy. More importantly, investment that's going to help our people recover from these storms. Help our people prepare for these storms. And we know more storms are coming. I wish there was a way we could get this money to the people today. When you do the Google or you do the Chat GPT, it's going to tell you that the El Niño is creating a lot of crazy weather around the world. And every one of these storms from Mawar to Bavi has been inching closer and closer and closer to a direct hit right here on our island. Look at the damage we've sustained from being skirted by these superstorms. Do we not owe it to our people to invest in them so that they could do better during these times of adversity? So they don't have to worry about the window blowing in. So they don't have to worry about how they're going to keep Nana's medicine cold. So they don't have to worry and stress about how they're going to fare in these storms. So we have an opportunity here, Mr. Chair, to truly support our people and our families. We have an opportunity here to cast a vote for Guam. We have an opportunity here to put Guam first. Trusted and tested leaders would support this investment in our people, because together we can. So let's go. Si Dios Masi, Mr. Chair.
On the Barnett Amendment, are there any objections? There's been an objection. All in favor of the Barnett Amendment, please raise your hand. Amendment fails. Colleagues, we are going to the next amendment. And actually, the next amendment is the Barnett Amendment. It is out of order, given the fact that his First Amendment did not succeed.
All right, so you saw how that played out. 5 senators voted for that amendment. I'm not putting myself back on the screen because it's hot and I'm not wearing my shirt anymore. The Barnett Amendment was to basically put $1,000 grant to every household on this island, and it failed, and it would have used the 0.5% that the Republicans want to drop the BPT from 4.5 to 4%. That's the revenue that it would have used. And you know, I really didn't care about the BPT thing before. I saw it as, good job, Republicans. You kept your promise, right, on dropping the BPT from 4% or from 5% to 4.5%. And then they were about to do it again, or it's looking like they're going to do it from 4.5 to 4%. But when Barnett put that out and was like, why don't we just use this money to, if we really want to put the money back into the economy, why don't we put it back closer into the hands of the people by giving it directly to the people? And I thought, well, I mean, that's a pretty darn good argument. I'm curious to hear what the arguments are for those who did not vote for the Barnett Amendment, and why that is. Like, is there a better argument about that's going to make sense to us, households, taxpayers, regular people, right? And I don't know that the standard argument of it's going to trickle down is going to work on most voters anymore. I'm very curious why those who did not vote for that amendment decided to side with essentially large corporations who aren't even anchored in Guam. They're not even Guam businesses, giving them a tax break over giving the people a tax break. We'll try to get more information on that tomorrow, and hopefully by tomorrow morning I have Island Power. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for the Troy Torres Show. God bless you and good night.
He has that innate talent of even the most difficult times, giving comfort, giving solace, bringing stability. In my 64 years, there are people I've known that have passed away, and there's been Tony that has been there to comfort the family and the loved ones, sometimes the most difficult times of their lives. He could better this community as a public servant, but bring people together, even people with divergent thoughts and philosophies, but in the end, bringing enough comfort, enough stability to a situation that there's a consensus and then resolution and progress that is made. So, I'm so excited. I've seen what a great job Tony's done now back in the legislature. But I do believe that with him as governor, that ability to bring people together, to bring folks even with different perspectives together, it's what this island needs. God bless Atacaubo 2026. God bless Guam.
I'm Tony Atta, and I approve this message.
Transportation, tourism, customs, utilities, and federal and foreign affairs touch every family, every business, every day. Jesse Michael Anderson Lujan believes Guam can be greater together by fighting for cabotage exemption, expanding the Philippine visa waiver program, and opening new doors for tourism investment and opportunity. Vote Jesse Lujan. Leadership you can see. Accountability you can trust.
I'm Jesse Michael Anderson Lujan, and I approve this message.